My name is Gilbert. I am 55 years old. And the first thing you should know about me is this. I never thought I would be afraid of my own son. The night it happened, I remember the smell first. Dust and damp concrete, the faint scent of gasoline from the old lawn mower. I remember the dim yellow bulb at the bottom of the basement stairs flickering like it couldn't decide whether to stay alive. And I remember the push. It wasn't hard. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't the kind of shove you see in movies. It was calculated. I fell before I could even process what was happening. My heel slipped on the top step. My back hit the edge of the second, then the third. Then I was tumbling, arms flailing, breath ripped from my lungs. My head struck something hard. A bright flash exploded behind my eyes. When I finally stopped rolling, I was at the bottom. I couldn't move. And at the top of the stairs, framed by that flickering light, stood my only son. Ethan. He didn't rush down to help me. He didn't scream. He just stared. Then he turned around and closed the basement door. You don't raise a child for 28 years expecting to see that look in his eyes. Cold. Resolved. Detached. Ethan was born on a rainy afternoon in March. I remember holding him for the first time, his fingers wrapped around mine, so small, so fragile. I promised him I would protect him from everything. I didn't realize one day I might need protection from him. After his mother died 12 years ago, it was just the two of us. I buried my grief in overtime shifts and silent dinners. I told myself providing was enough. It was. He grew quiet after her funeral, then distant, then resentful. "Why are you never home?" he'd ask. "I'm working for us," I'd reply. But what he heard was something different. I didn't notice the shift when he moved back in last year. He said he needed time to figure things out. A failed business, mounting debts, bad investments. I didn't press too hard. He was my son. You don't interrogate your child. You trust them. That night I had confronted him. "I got a call from the bank," I told him in the kitchen. "Why is there a second mortgage on the house?" He didn't look surprised. He didn't look ashamed. "It was temporary," he said flatly. "I needed capital." "You used my house." "Our house?" "No," I snapped. "This house is paid off because I broke my back for 30 years. That's when something shifted in his eyes. "You broke your back," he said quietly. "You were never here." The argument escalated, words sharpened, accusations flew. Then he said something that chilled me. "If you weren't around, this would be easier." I laughed nervously. I shouldn't have. Moments later, he suggested we check the old documents in the basement. I walked ahead of him down the narrow stairs. And then, the push. At the bottom of the basement, pain radiated through my spine. I tried to inhale, but my chest felt crushed. My left leg wouldn't respond. I heard the lock click above me. "Ethan," I croaked. Silence. I don't know how long I lay there. Minutes felt like hours. My phone had slipped from my pocket during the fall. It was somewhere near the water heater, screen cracked but still faintly glowing. I dragged myself inch by inch across the cold floor. Each movement sent lightning through my body. I thought about my wife. About the day she made me promise in her hospital bed to always stay close to him. "I will," I had whispered. I failed her. Finally, my fingers brushed against my phone. 3% battery. My vision blurred. Who do you call when your own son locks you in a basement? The police. An ambulance. A neighbor. I didn't dial 911. I called someone else. Someone Ethan didn't know I'd spoken to earlier that week. His business partner. Marcus. You see, I'm not as naive as my son believed. When the bank called about the second mortgage, they also mentioned something else: large transfers to an offshore account, suspicious withdrawals, names tied to fraud investigations. One of those names was Marcus Hale. I had done some quiet digging, and I had made one discreet call. When Marcus answered, his voice was impatient. "This better be important." "It is," I whispered. "Your partner just tried to kill me." Silence. "What are you talking about?" He pushed me down the basement stairs. "I'm locked in, and if I don't get out, the police are getting the documents I found in Ethan's desk." I didn't have those documents, but Marcus didn't know that. "You're bluffing," he said, though his voice wavered. "Am I?" I coughed, tasting blood. "Insurance policies, fraud trails, fake LLCs. I may be old, but I can still read." Another pause. "Where are you?" he asked. "In the basement, 14 Maple Street." The battery hit 1%. "You have 10 minutes," I said. "After that, I call someone else." The phone died. Upstairs, I could hear faint footsteps packing. Ethan thought he had time. He thought I would either die down there or be too injured to talk. He underestimated two things: my stubbornness and his partner's fear. 8 minutes later, headlights flashed through the basement window. A car door slammed. Voices shouted. Then, bang, bang, bang. Ethan opened the door. It was Marcus alone. It was Marcus and two very loud men who did not sound patient. "What the hell are you doing here?" I heard Ethan yell. "You idiot," Marcus shouted back. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" Another crash. The front door splintered. Footsteps thundered across the floor above me. Then the basement door burst open. Light flooded in. Ethan stood frozen at the top step. Marcus shoved past him. When he saw me lying at the bottom, his face drained of color. "You said he was exaggerating," one of the men barked at Ethan. "He was supposed to scare him," Ethan stammered. "Just scare him." I forced a laugh that turned into a groan. That's not what it felt like. Within minutes, the house was chaos. But Marcus had bigger concerns than my injuries. "You need to fix this," he hissed at Ethan. "If he talks, we're finished." That's when I said the words that changed everything. I already did. All three of them looked at me. "What?" Ethan asked. Before calling Marcus, earlier that week, I had visited a lawyer. I had signed documents transferring temporary control of my assets into a trust. And I had scheduled an automatic email to be sent, containing a detailed statement of everything I suspected, if I didn't deactivate it within 24 hours. I hadn't deactivated it. By now it was already sent. "To who?" Marcus demanded. "The authorities," I replied calmly, "and a journalist." The room went silent. Sirens wailed in the distance. Not because of the email. Because my neighbor had reported the commotion of the broken door. But they didn't know that. Marcus stepped back. Ethan's face turned pale. "You ruined us," he whispered. "No," I said, "you did." When the police arrived, they found me barely conscious, three panicked men arguing. In a house that looked like a crime scene. Ethan tried to claim it was an accident. Marcus tried to leave. Neither succeeded. I spent 3 months recovering. 2 fractured ribs, a cracked vertebra, a deep concussion. Physical pain heals. Betrayal lingers. Ethan was charged, not with attempted murder but aggravated assault and financial fraud. Marcus faced much worse. I testified. My voice shook. But I testified. The day Ethan was sentenced, he looked at me differently. Not with anger. Not with hatred. But with something closer to realization. "I didn't mean for it to go that far," he said quietly as they led him away. I believed him. That's the tragedy. He didn't wake up planning to hurt me. He made small compromises, small lies, small justifications, until one push didn't feel like a big step anymore. It's been 2 years. I still live in the same house. The basement light still flickers. I replaced the bulb 3 times. I think it's the wiring. Or maybe it's a reminder. Ethan writes to me from prison. Short letters. Apologies. Regret. I write back. Not because I've forgotten, but because I refuse to let that night be the final chapter between us. I visit once a month. He looks older now. So do I. Last time I saw him, he said something that stayed with me. I thought if you were gone, my problems would disappear. I nodded. And what did you learn? I asked. That running from consequences only builds a bigger fall. He glanced at the floor. I guess I pushed you because I was already falling. That broke me more than the stairs ever did. If you're listening to my story, let me tell you what I've learned at 55. Love without attention becomes distance. Distance becomes resentment. Resentment becomes justification. And justification can turn a son into someone you don't recognize. But here's the other truth. One decision can change everything. One phone call. One act of courage. One moment where you refuse to stay silent. That night in the basement, I could have called for help in fear. Instead, I called with strategy. Not for revenge, but for survival. And maybe in a strange way, for my son's salvation too. Because if he had gotten away with it, if he had believed pushing me down those stairs solved his problems, he would have fallen much further in life than I ever did.